Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. To the new subscribers, welcome. I hope you find the content interesting. I thought I'd just take a few minutes to give you the heads up about one of the great astronomical events that is happening next week on the 21st of October, the evening of the 21st and the morning of the 22nd of October, and that is the spectacular Orionids meteor shower. Now the Orionids happens every year and is visible from the northern hemisphere. Will be visible if it is clear skies or partly clear skies, and like I say, it's an annual event. It happens when the Earth passes through space. It passes through numerous debris streams from different comets that have kind of long since passed, and this particular stream of debris, which causes the shooting stars or the meteors, the meteor shower, came from or comes from the comet Halley, which passed by in the late 1980s. Now this is probably one of the few comets that somebody can see twice in their lifetime, depending on when you were born, when it last passed and that type of thing. But yeah, it last passed in the 1980s, and as it passed by passed through space and passed by the Earth, it left a tail of small bits of grit, rock, sand size kind of particles, bits of ice, that type of thing, which kind of linger in space, and every year the Earth passes through it on its orbit. Some years you can see between 10 and 20 meteors from the meteor shower, or shooting stars. Some years, and I've read about a kind of particularly strong meteor shower from the Orionids back in, I think it was 2009, where up to 80 shooting stars were visible per hour. Now, who knows what can happen this year? You might get a particularly good display, you might get a particularly poor display, or you might get an absolutely spectacular display. I don't know, but it's certainly worth kind of going out and watching. Now, the shower runs from the 1st of October to the 6th of November, but as with every meteor shower, there is a particular peak where you're more likely to see greater numbers of shooting stars. Okay. Now, just to give you a little bit of a good chance of seeing them, the Orionids this year fall particularly at a good time in terms of the moon phase. Now, the moon at the moment is just about, it's waning. It's at 0% waning, so it's going to start waxing, which means it'll start kind of getting brighter and fuller and earlier on in the evening. Now, by the time the Orionids peaks next week, the moon shouldn't be an issue at all. In fact, if you're a landscape photographer, the moon might give a little bit of an advantage to light up the foreground just a little bit. I wouldn't expect too much from it, but yeah, it's certainly not going to hinder the meteor shower at all, so nothing to worry about on that front. Obviously, we need clear skies, or partly clear skies, for to see any shooting stars. And if it's cloudy, which I hope it isn't, but if it is, and it's thick blanket cloud, you're not going to see them. In terms of where to look, now I always get asked by people, where should I be looking? Well, Orion, most people know what Orion looks like in the sky, or at least know how to find the 3 stars of Orion's belt. If you can locate Orion, or Orion's belt, to the top left-hand corner of Orion's belt is Betelgeuse, which is a distinct rusty orange coloured bright star. And that's kind of the location that you want to be looking, just above where Betelgeuse is. Now, you don't have to have your kind of gaze fixated just on that spot, because the meteors, the shooting stars, can originate at any part of the sky. So what I tend to do is, a typical kind of night of going out to watch a meteor shower, I'll kind of get the camera and everything all set up, which I'll go into in a minute. You don't need a telescope. You don't need a telescope. You just need your naked eye. If you want to photograph it, I'll go through that in a sec. But what I would typically do is, depending on the weather, get a nice comfy chair or some blankets on the ground or whatnot. Get wrapped up really warm. Get a couple of hot drinks on the go. If you've got any kind of heater or whatnot, you know, spark that up. And I would be looking out typically from, I go out. I go out quite early, and I'll kind of go in and out through most of the night just to kind of see how it's progressing. I wouldn't necessarily sit out the whole night, but yeah, I would wrap up warm, get a comfy seat. I'll be outside for at least 20 minutes, half an hour, if not longer, to allow my eyes, my vision to adjust to the darkness, and to allow you to pick up the shooting stars as they fly past. If you're in a heavily built up area with lots of light pollution, it might be worth trying to get out a little bit away from that, if kind of COVID restrictions allow you to do that. I know from here in South Shields we've got numerous different parts of the coast that we can go to if we want kind of darker skies away from street lights and whatnot. If you're restricted to your garden, then that's all you can do. Turn off any lights in your own particular house or garden that might hinder your view. Let your eyes adjust for about half an hour, and then sit and look up and look towards Orion, which rises these days around 10:30, 10:20, 10:30 in the evening. It's probably a little bit early for it to be kind of going out hardcore, kind of sitting out watching for shooting stars. You might see some, definitely. But certainly I would be kind of going out a little bit later, more towards, you know, 11:30, 12, like midnight, if not after. Because Orion rises above the eastern horizon at around about 20 past 10, 10:30. The origin of the meteors, where they'll be coming from, that rises slightly sooner. But and as that kind of rises up through the sky as time progresses through the night, Orion will be at its highest in the sky after midnight, and certainly before the sun rises. And that's probably the best time that you want to be looking, is after midnight. Just look up, look towards Orion, and you should see some meteors. Don't be disheartened if you don't necessarily see them straight away. There's some nights that I've sat there for a good while and I've thought, right, that's it, I'm going in. I'm cold, I'm tired, I haven't seen any. And all of a sudden you'll see a spectacular one just kind of go by, or you'll see just a quick flash, and that'll be enough to kind of keep you going, which, you know, it's great for to see them, and you'll kind of see them out the corner of your eye, or you'll be lucky enough to catch one going, you know, that lasts a good few seconds. Some of the best ones that I've ever seen were in Egypt, and literally they went from one horizon over to the next with, it almost seemed like glittery tails. They went on forever. They were spectacular. I just can't begin to describe how amazing they were. I've seen a couple of great ones over here, fireballs they're called, and they're the ones that kind of last a little bit longer, and you see the tail kind of breaking apart as they come into the Earth's atmosphere. They're particularly special, and again, that's what kind of keeps you going as the night goes on. So you might have times where you don't necessarily see any for a while, and then you see a good few in a few minutes or so. So try not to be disheartened. Give it some time. You might be rewarded with some great meteors. Like I say, they can vary from 10 to 20 an hour, less, perhaps significantly more, depending on if the Earth's passing through a particularly dense part of the comet's debris field. What else? Yeah, keep an eye on Orion. Oh yes, in terms of if you're using a camera, a DSLR, a digital camera, for to try and photograph shooting stars or meteors, it is difficult. There's no ifs or buts about it, because really you're pointing your camera at a certain part in space towards the sky, and depending on what kind of lens you're using, how wide the field of view is, it depends on what's going to come into that field if you catch any meteors or shooting stars on camera. The best thing is to set your camera up. If you've got a tripod, perfect. If you haven't got a tripod, you know, put it on a table, position it towards the sky. You will need a shutter release cable if you haven't got one built into your camera. There's still enough time for it to go out and kind of buy one off Amazon or whatnot. They're only a couple of quid depending on what camera you're using, but certainly a shutter release cable will allow you to keep the shutter open that length of time. Probably anything up to 30 seconds would be perfect to allow the shutter to remain open to catch 30 seconds on top of each other of light and hopefully some meteors kind of passing by the camera's field of view. So yeah, try and get a tripod if you've got one, try and get a shutter release cable. Your settings will depend on where you are, what kind of light pollution you've got, but typically you want anywhere up to 30-second exposures, if not longer. Sometimes you get kind of star trails depending on what lens you're using, but between 10 and 30 seconds should, you know, give you a decent image. Try and get your aperture as low as possible to allow enough light to get into the camera sensor. And your ISO, I would say kind of, you know, keep it upwards of 1600 plus, depending on your kind of location and whatnot. Just tinker around with it. Don't kind of feel like you failed if you don't catch any on camera. It is difficult, it really is. Often I'll just kind of set the tripod up in the garden, set the camera, and I'll just set the camera facing directly upwards, directly skyward, instead of kind of on an angle towards Orion or whatnot, because often as you've got it facing towards Orion, the meteors will be going kind of completely overhead sometimes. I've often found that I catch them a little bit better if I've got the camera just facing almost directly up. But like I said, it's hit and miss. You really are kind of hoping for a bit of luck if you catch any on camera. I have got me kind of image in my head what I want to achieve from this year's meteor shower. I hope it works, because I'm gonna use is completely the wrong term, but I'm going to use my two nephews as props, as models. I hope the image works out. If not, you'll just get a bog standard picture if I catch any on camera. I think that's about it, guys. I'll post a couple of pictures at the end of this video of what Orion looks like in the sky if you don't know what it looks like, and the approximate region of the where the meteors tend to radiate from. But please, if the weather's good, spend a bit of time, go out, you know, wrap up well, go out with your nearest and dearest, whoever, sit and watch, and I hope you catch many a good meteor. There's plenty more showers towards the end of the year, but the Orionids is definitely one to watch. Okay, take care, guys. I hope you have a great evening. Bye bye.